Hi everyone and welcome back to Tommy Talks Med. I'm Dr. Ifelayo and today we're going to be discussing a very important topic. When is my fertile window? AKA, when am I ovulating? So there are different methods that we can use to determine this ovulation window, and I'm going to walk through a couple of them today. The first one is the calendar, the app, the formula method. And essentially what it is based on the assumption of how long your period is. So when I talk about your menstrual cycle, I'm talking about the first day from when you bleed to the next first day you bleed. That's how long your menstrual cycle is. On average, it should be about 25 to 35 days. And if we, for instance, say that your average menstrual cycle is 28 days, then we can use this calculation method to estimate what day you are fertile and what day you're ovulating, and then calculate the window around that. So if we say that you are a 28 day cycle person, then what we'll do is subtract 14 days from that, because from the period you ovulate to the period you bleed should be about 12 to 14 days, and we'll use 14 for this calculation. So if I do 28 days, that's a 28-day cycle minus 14, day 14 should be my day that I ovulate. And the reason this is important is because if you ovulate on day 14, then you are fertile about 5 days before that and that day. So day 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 would be your fertile window. It's estimated that sperm lives about 5 days in the general tract. And so if you were to ovulate on any of those days, the sperm would be able to meet the egg and then you'd be able to have a baby. If we're gonna say that you ovulate on day 14, then 10 to 14 is your window. If, for instance, you were to calculate it out and your days would be day 10, then day 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 would be your ovulation window, and so on and so forth. The apps that you use to track your fertility window use this similar formula to determine when you are fertile. Number 2, cervical mucus, aka the poor man's test. This is literally what it sounds like. You essentially get a sample of mucus from the vagina and you hold it up and see how stretchy it is and what it looks like. And as we talked about from our video before on vaginal discharge, there are different types of vaginal discharge. And if you have something that's abnormal, please go watch that video. But when we're talking about normal physiologic discharge, when you have egg white consistency, stretchy mucus, that first day that you get that is usually the day that you're ovulating. And so for that, you want to have intercourse on that day because the egg can live for about 24 hours after that. So that is your ovulation day, and that's when you want to have intercourse. Quickly going back to the calendar method, that 5-day window, usually if you have intercourse every other day during that 5-day window, you cover your bases to be able to maximize your chances of getting pregnant. Number 3, basal body temperature. So there's a special thermometer that gives you smaller increments of temperature changes that you can use to determine when you're ovulating. So your temperature after you've ovulated normally increases a little tiny bit. And this thermometer can show you when you've ovulated. Now, as you're probably guessing, the downside to this is you know you've ovulated after the fact. And so this isn't necessarily as useful to say, I'm ovulating now, I need to have intercourse now. It's more so for you to predict what day you ovulate so that the next cycle, you know when to time your intercourse. Number 4, ovulation prediction kits. Now, the basis of these kits, which you can find in the store, are essentially to measure the amount of LH, or luteinizing hormone, in the body. Luteinizing hormone, or LH, is the hormone that tells the eggs to ovulate, right? It tells the ovaries to release the eggs into the fallopian tubes. And so when that surge happens, or you get a high level of that hormone, usually the next day you're going to ovulate. And so when those ovulation prediction kits that you test every single day get positive, then you want to have intercourse the day of that positive test and the day after to capture that 24-hour window during which you can ovulate. Last but not least, you have the assumptions for all of these, right? All of these are based on regular time periods, especially the calendar method. And one sign of regular ovulation is that you're having predictable periods every month. And if you're not, that might be a clue that you may not be ovulating every month, or something may be up with your hormone system, and that needs to get checked. The reason I'm saying this is because if you are working based on the calendar method or all these other things, you may not get a reliable result if you're not ovulating every month and you're not having a regular period every month. And so for that, you need to talk to a doctor to be able to investigate the different causes of anovulation, which means you're not ovulating at all, or abnormal irregular ovulation. So things get a little bit more complicated in that window, and that's why you wouldn't want to waste your time on things that may not be able to give you reliable results, and you need to get worked up. I hope this helps. I hope this kind of explains the process a little bit more. Again, I pray that you are in good health even as your soul prospers, and I will see you in the next video.